Welcome back everyone. We're going to be solving LeetCode 160, intersection of two linked lists. So given the heads of two singly linked lists A and B, we want to return the node at which the two lists intersect one another. And if the two linked lists have no intersection at all, we can just return none. So they give us an example here. A and B link to list A points to C1 and list B points to C2. So what we're going to do is we're going to use 2 pointers to solve this problem. We're going to set pointer A to the first node in list A, pointer B to the first node in list B. And while these 2 pointers are not equal to each other, we're just going to increment them by 1. So we'll say A1, or current A, is now pointing to A2, current B will now be pointing to B2, A points to C1, B points to B3, A points to C2, B to C1, A now points to C3, B to C2. When A reaches none, we want to take that pointer and set it equal to the very first node in list B. And we'll do the same thing for our pointer B. So let's keep going. Now B is pointing to C3. A will now be pointing to B2. B is now at none, so we increment B to A. Now they're both pointing to the same thing, but they are not equal to each other still. So now we increment both of them by 1, increment both of them by 1 again, and they finally reach the C1 node, and then we can return. So let's say current A will be equal to head A, and current B will be equal to head B. We will say while current A is not equal to current B, we want to check if current A is not none. We will say current A will now be equal to current A dot next. Else if current A is none, we want to move it to the very first node of our list B. So we'll say current A is now going to be equal to head B. And we will do the exact same thing for our B pointer. So we'll say if current B is not none, we want to say current B will now be equal to current B dot next. Else if current B is none, meaning we reach the end of our list, we want to set it equal to the very first node of our A list. And once we exit this loop, our 2 pointers will either be pointing at the very same node, or they will be pointing to a null node. So in which case we can just return either pointer. So let's just say we'll return B. So we'll run this, we pass all 3 test cases, we'll submit, and it does run, perfect. So time complexity, we are iterating through every node in list A and list B at most once, so that is going to give us a time complexity of O of n plus, well, let's just say A is the length of, or the number of nodes in list A, and B is the number of nodes in list B. Okay, now the space complexity is going to be O of 1 constant time, because we are not creating new data structures to solve this problem. We are just using 2 pointers and looping through until we reach the same node or the null node. Alright, that'll do it for LeetCode 160.